Teaching conversational skills can be very challenging for teachers. Students are often afraid to speak out. They're too shy. They have to think about so much, such as grammar and vocabulary, that it makes them afraid to actually say anything at all. One way we can actually help our students to learn conversational skills is through dialogues. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a dialogue is a written composition in which two or more characters are represented as conversing. Can also be a conversation between two people or an exchange of ideas. This is a good example of a dialogue you might use in your English class. Here you can see two teenagers making plans for their day. By the way, this is from the New World textbook for secondary school. And this is around an A2 level on the CEFR scale. So what can I actually use this dialogue to teach? I'm not limited to conversation or communication skills. In fact, I can do quite a lot of other things with a dialogue like this. For instance, I can teach reading. I can get to see how much the students actually understand about what they're reading. And it's especially good for reading aloud. I can hear how students pronounce, what their rhythm is like, whether they understand enough to be able to emphasize the proper words and things like that. It's also very good for listening practice. So listening to a somewhat natural speech between two people. It's also good to check whether students can get an overall idea about what two people are discussing, two or more people are discussing. And then finally, it's a very good way to reinforce the grammar that you're learning throughout the week. So while it's obvious that we can use this kind of dialogue to teach a lot of different skills and do a lot of practice, there are some limitations to it. For instance, what do I really want to get out of a dialogue is I want my students to be able to converse. I want them to see how people talk and then to be able to do that without having to read the dialogue. But I think when we look at this, we can see it's a bit long. There's a lot of stuff here. And I really can't expect my students to remember this, not even by the end of class, much less the next day or the next week. So what I want to do is to actually simplify this dialogue a little bit. By simplify, I mean I'm going to take out about half of this. I'm just going to keep the essence of this dialogue. So I'm going to decide what I want to focus on in this particular dialogue. Okay, so I'm going to point out my grammar. What are we going to do? I think this is the main thing that I want to focus on here. So I have it here. Okay. Other things I want to focus on. I want to focus on let's go out to the club and play. So I want to focus on this structure. Let's go here and do something. Okay. Okay, and then I have another structure. Whoops. Let's just go, which is a little bit different than let's go. Let's just go. So this is the main grammar points that I want to look at here. So what kind of vocabulary now do I want to focus on? All right, I want to focus on tennis, or I could be talking about other kinds of sports as well. I want to focus on temperature. It's too hot. Mall, and then I'm going to also look at the word window shopping. So these are the main grammar points and vocabulary points I'm going to be focusing on. And then I'm also going to be listening to rhythm as well as the individual sounds. So I've determined what my grammar points are. I've determined what vocabulary I want to use. I'm actually going to simplify this dialogue now. I'm going to put this in a question, answer, question, answer, question, answer format. And I'm going to be using repetition. So I'm repeating a few things, just making it simpler so the students may actually have a better chance of remembering it. So let's go ahead and look at what I've kept. What are we going to do today? Let's go to the park and play tennis. So I've got my main idea. Oh, it's too hot today. Let's go to the mall and go shopping. Again, I've got my main ideas. And then I'm even putting in a little bit new idea, but this is actually something that was already introduced in this unit. What are you going to buy? Nothing. Let's just go window shopping. So this is the core that I'm going to use for my conversation practice. Again, I can use all of this for reading, reading aloud, looking at grammar. I can use this dialogue for all of that, but for my conversation itself, I'm going to simplify and go here. Now I'll go over how you can present this material in your class and get your students familiar with it, so hopefully they'll remember it next day, next week, next month even. So I'm going to start off by just doing 2 lines. I don't want to give them all 6 at once, and I'm actually not even going to show these 2 lines. I want them to start by hearing it before they actually see it. So what I want to do is I want to demo. So the demo could be the teacher just reading it. Demo could be listening to a pre-recorded audio file, which that's what I'm going to do now. And they should see the demo 3 to 4 times. Next is going to be teacher to student. So teacher is going to be A, student is going to be B. So I'm going to say to the student, what are we going to do today? Student will answer me. If student's unable to answer me, I get another student to help him or her. I'm going to do this 3 to 5 times. So what's the purpose of doing it so many times? I want the students to hear part A again and again and again done properly. Next, student to teacher, same thing. Student is going to be A now, and the teacher will be B. Again, I'm doing it so many times so that students can hear it properly again and again. Next, student to student. Now I'm going to get the students to ask each other. And I as a teacher, I tend to do this very randomly. I just say, okay, what 2 students can help me? If none stand up, then I select some. Lastly, some kind of a follow-up activity. So I'm going to do this with all of the lines. I'll show you what I mean here. All right, so you can see here that I've got a couple of pictures. I have a question mark for my what are we going to do? And then I have a tennis racket for tennis, right? So I'm going to use this as my demo. I want to give students some kind of an idea about what they're listening to, but I do not have the words yet because, like I said, I want them to listen before reading.
What are we going to do today?
Let's go to the park and play tennis. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to do this demo 3 to 4 times. If my class is a little bit slow, I can actually do it 5, 6 times. It's fine. After I do this, I'm going to pick 4 or 5 students. I'm going to say, what are we going to do today? Then I want the student to say, let's go to the park and play tennis. Let's go to the park and play tennis. Okay, so I'm going to do this 4 or 5 times. If my class is doing well, I have the students that are able to actually answer. I'm going to switch it around. I'm going to get the student to ask me, what are we going to do today? And I will answer, let's go to the park today. After I've finished doing all of that, I'm going to go to my next slide. And then we're going to read it together. Or I might write this on the whiteboard. however your class functions. So maybe I'll just write it on the whiteboard. Now you may notice that this word here is underlined, tennis. The reason that's underlined is this is a word that can be replaced. So later if I do some kind of vocabulary exercise, I can replace tennis with golf or frisbee or football, whatever I like. Okay, let's look at the next part. I'm doing exactly the same thing here. So I've got my 2 lines, not 6 lines, but 2. I'm going to do my demo. I'm going to do teacher to student, student to teacher, student to student, then show the dialogue. Same thing. I've got, oh no, it's too hot. And then the student suggests, let's go shopping.
Oh, it's too hot today.
Okay, let's go to the mall and go shopping. Okay, so you heard the dialogue. Oh, it's too hot today. Let's go to the mall and go shopping. Again, we're using that same sentence pattern, and I'm going to go through the whole process. Can you say it with me? Demo, teacher, student, student, teacher, student, student, and then I'm going to write it up. Then I'm going to write it up on the board or show it to them. And then we can do it again as a whole class if you like. I think you probably know what's coming up next. Next, we're going to do the final 2 lines. The final 2 lines, what are you going to buy? Nothing. Let's just go window shopping. So here's my example. What are you going to buy? Question with lots of things. Nothing. I'm just going window shopping. So window shopping, just the eyes there. Let's listen one more time.
What are you going to buy?
Nothing. Let's just go window shopping. Okay, again, demo 3 to 4 times, maybe 5 times. Teacher, student, student, teacher, student, student. Write it up on the board. There we go. I'm writing it up on the board. So I've gone through the whole dialogue quite a lot, quite a few times, right? Students should have, at least they should have this grammar point. What are you going to something? What are you going to do? What are you going to buy? And then let's just go. Let's go to the next page.
What are you going to buy?
At the end, I should have all of the dialogue again for students to see. At this point, you can go through and do the whole dialogue with students, get them to pair up to do the dialogue, or you can do some other follow-up activities.
What are we going to do today?
Let's go to the park and play tennis.
Oh, it's too hot today.
Okay, let's go to the mall and go shopping.
What are you going to buy?
Nothing, let's just go window shopping. Again, you may also notice I underlined go shopping as well. This can also be replaced with other activities. What else can you do at the mall? Eat lunch, see some friends, watch a movie. For later if you want to do some kind of vocabulary exercise. All right, so that's it for using the dialogue for conversation practice. Remember that dialogue can be used for a lot of different things, and this is just one way to extend it into more of a conversation practice. So at the end of this activity, there's a few things you can do. Do a role playing, do some kind of writing activity, follow it up with something called parallel lines, which I'll have another video about parallel lines that you can see, pairing off, or maybe play some kind of a game. That's it for today. I'd love to hear your comments below and any suggestions for further training. Thank you.